Serious, what revenge of yours hit the victim way worse than you thought it would, to the point you said maybe I shouldn't have done that? When I was in 9th grade, a kid ruthlessly bullied me for a few months. I had gotten sick of it and devised a plan for revenge. Every Wednesday we would get to sit outside for quiet reading time, and this kid would always go back inside for a piss. I had left and waited in the bathroom for him, peeking under the stall for his shoes to appear. He came in the bathroom, took his piss, then played on his Game Boy for the rest of reading time. The bell rang and he walked out to the crowded stairwell still looking down at his Game Boy. I bumped into him. He fell face first down the stairs. Knocked out 4 front teeth. Everyone on the stairs assumed he fell because he was playing his Game Boy. I feel pretty bad about it. Edit, I identified him by his shoes, used the bathroom as a place to pick up his trail. The bathroom he used was on the 2nd floor since it was the closest one to the door near where we were at outside. I knew he would have to use a set of stairs to go back down to his next class, one we had together, but I didn't know which one. Had a roommate who basically let his new GF move into our house in college. She helped herself to everything in the house but never contributed. Finally she parked in my parking spot, and that was my breaking point. I let all the air out of all of her tires, thinking she'd just air them back up and it would be an inconvenience. Instead she ended up buying all new tires. Whoops. Never came clean about it. So, she had the money to buy 4 new tires, but couldn't kick in on anything around the house? I'm still mad at myself for this. When I was a preteen, my friend and I went to one of those day camps that picked us up in yellow school buses. One of the other kids on our bus was a younger boy I'll refer to as Eli. Eli was a ducking terror. He would scream and spit and hump things, make a mess, and be as annoying and insufferable as possible. Riding the bus with him was a nightmare for everyone involved most of the time. So I came up with this idea. I found his family in the phone book, and called up pretending to be a camp counselor. I told his mom that he was misbehaving on the bus and that he would either be disciplined or kicked out of the camp if he didn't stop. She bought it, said she would talk to him about it. I felt so fucking smart. Until the next day, when a quiet, sullen Eli showed up with a black eye. Edit, apparently a lot of you don't believe that a preteen could convincingly sound like a camp counselor over the phone. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe the static of our connection made my fake adult voice more convincing, or Eli's parents were really gullible, or they were just looking for any old excuse to beat up their kid. I don't remember the precise details of a conversation I had like 17 years ago, but I really did call his family, and he really did show up with a black eye the next day. If I were going to lie about this, I'd have probably come up with a cooler story. One time I saw a truck with a typical "how's my driving?" Call 3034X, so I call and tell them that the guy was driving erratically because 16-year-old me thought that would be hilarious. The lady on the other end sounded like she was writing stuff down, and I started to panic, realizing that I may be screwing with the driver's livelihood. So mid-conversation I dropped the phone on purpose and pick it up and deepen my voice to say, "This is foreseeable a past dad." Apparently he thought it'd be funny to call the number on the back of your trucks as a prank. The lady was understanding and said that it's nothing to mess around with, as they take driving safety very serious. I continued to feel bad, so I told her that my son would like to apologize, so I dropped the phone again and apologized in a regretful way and then hung up. Probably the most elaborate, stupidest thing I've ever done. Edit, thanks everyone for pointing out that my 16-year-old self had some empathy. It's not often at that age that you're able to take a step back and realize what you're doing is idiotic. Thankful I didn't ruin someone's day or career. I appreciate all the nice messages. Haha, you still did the right thing in the end. Kudos. Coworker and I had a friendly prank war spanning 2 years. Close to the end of our war, he iced my car. Icing involves taking the hose to the parking lot every half hour and spraying a light mist over your victim's car when it's below 0 out. I finished my 12-hour shift to find a car encased in 2 inches of ice. My revenge was, I thought, both more inconvenient for him and less freezing my balls off for me. I decided to take a bed sheet, drape it over his car, and only took 4 or 5 trips out with the hose the next night. So the next morning he finds his car with a 1/4 inch of ice freezing a sheet to his car. When he started peeling off the sheet, he pulled his windshield wipers, arms and all off of his ratty Jeep. I got a very pissed off phone call. I felt bad. The unwritten rule was embarrassing or inconvenient, no damage. I paid for repairs, and he got his revenge. He planted a dozen pieces of smoked herring throughout my car. Took me 6 months to find the last piece. Hidden under the carpet under the back window of my car. I can still smell it. I don't even own the car anymore. When I was little, my friends kept pointing at the little girl on the box of the board game operation and saying it looks like me. So I pointed at the big fat guy and said that's your mom and didn't realize she was behind me. Back in middle school, a friend of mine threw a small wadded piece of paper at me. I retaliated by throwing the only thing I could find, which was mud close to my shoes. Smacked him right in the face with it. Worst part is, it turned out to be dog shit that was at the bottom of my shoe. I still vividly remember his angry "WTF man, I throw paper at you and you throw dog shit?" My older brother was always quite horrible to me as a child, and my parents never really did much about it. He was also much bigger than me, so I couldn't retaliate in a physical way cause I would be swiftly crippled cross facade walls of Jericho. One day I had just had enough. My revenge? He had been playing Rome Total War for a good 6 hours a day for about 3 weeks. I started a new game and overwrote his save file. Never seen fury like it. I regretted it at the time cause he was so angry it scared me and it made him dislike me even more, but now I praise my 13-year-old self for hitting him where it clearly hurt most. Edit. Some of you are asking how our relationship is now. It's okay. I moved away as soon as I hit 18, so I didn't see much of the family for some years. He was a prick, but his choice of submission moves was excellent. I think I have told this before, but I think I was 15 and was in class and sat next to a friend of mine. He, for no reason, began to say, "Haha, your bald father," which I followed up with, "Haha, your bald mother." He started crying and ran to the teacher. I honestly forgot his mom had cancer and was getting chemo. Hee. Not really relevant to this thread, but you reminded me of a funny incident. In high school, my mom finally insisted that I start shaving because my beginner's mustache looked trashy. So I did, and this kid from across the street, maybe 10 or so years younger than me, noticed, so he tried to mock me. "Ha ha, you shave your face. Ha ha, just like my mom. Only girls shave their mustache off." He thought he was mocking me, but all he was really doing was accidentally revealing that his mom had such a dense mustache that she needed to shave. I'd quit it was, but a lot of the boys in my 6th grade class thought it was hilarious to try and trip people. They'd get your ass no matter how careful you were. Well, I was pretty good at avoiding it, but when I was in gym class, this kid named Joey got my ass hard. I was dribbling down court and he nailed me. I face planted hard. So I thought about how to get him, and I got him at lunch. He was holding a lunch tray, so his hands weren't as useful. He nailed a table and lost a tooth. I got suspended for 10 days, and a strict no tripping policy got implemented, immediate suspensions if caught. Shit sucked, my dad beat my ass raw. Sorry, Joey. But a lot of the boys in my 6th grade class thought it was hilarious to try and trip people. I don't know why this is so popular among this age group. Had the same trend at my middle school. One kid would grab the handles of backpacks and pull, which would lead to you landing on your back every time. I told him once that if he did it again I was going to punch him. He did it again. I punched him. Still surprised I never got in trouble for that one. This one is not as serious or entertaining as most of the answers you'll find here. But when we were kids, my sister threw water at me and ran away, so I picked up my glass of water and ran after her. I threw the water from the glass at her once I had her cornered. Unfortunately, the glass had slipped out of my hand and it hit her right across her face. She got bruised and cut pretty bad. This one is not as serious, literally glass someone. When I was a kid, I was at a local river, a great swimming spot lots of people came to. My friend pushes me in the river and naturally I came up spluttering and a little red in the face, but it was all in good fun. For the rest of the day I planned to get her back, waiting for my opportunity to push her in, until she was at the edge of the river drying off. I pushed her, but her flailing and the slippery nature of the rocks she was on made her slip on the spot, and instead of just splashing into the water, she landed on her back hitting the rocks hard, and then fell into the water. She was winded, but thankfully otherwise unharmed. Our parents were furious at me, and I just spent the few seconds it took to get her out, felt like a lot longer to me, just hoping I hadn't broken her back or something. 210 Revenge. Would not do again. Edit. Wow, this really blew up. I hope we have all learned not to push people into pools and other bodies of water. Reminds me of a somewhat similar story. Me and some friends rented a house including a pool. One of their kids was quite annoying with his water pistol and I told him to quit multiple times. Instead of being the adult and ignore it, I picked him up and threw him in the pool. Or that was the idea. The kid somehow held onto my arm, canceling out some of the momentum, and he hit the metal pool stairs. He cried and it was obvious I was responsible. So there I was. A guy mid-20s trying to explain why he made a 9-year-old cry. Ever since reading the story about the bride pushed into the pool and paralyzed at her bachelorette party, I cringe at the idea of pushing or throwing someone into a pool. This story is actually almost exactly what happened to my uncle about 30 years ago. He was at a pool party in his mid-20s and a friend pushed him in, all in good fun, but my uncle hit his head and broke his neck. He spent the rest of his life in a wheelchair. I can't imagine how that friend felt. Growing up, my mom, his sister, was always really paranoid about us playing around the pool in our backyard, for good reason. She'd get so ticked if we were pushing friends in. Don't push people into pools, guys, they're not deep enough and not meant for that. Edit, changed C to deep, darn autocorrect.